my brother was murdered in January. Chicago already has a humanitarian crisis.
That's right. Yes.
We
Yes.
don't have enough resources to support our people here.
That's right.
My mother has to look out the window to see where my brother was shot at because CHA does not want to move her. Okay? So my whole thing is, if we don't have resources to support us here already, why the hell would you all bring people here for one who don't like black people? That's already.
Yes. 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 Yes.
You all are sitting up here, and this is just to let you all know. This meeting here is a formality. They have to do this. They're going to do what they want to do anyway. Here, we have to bear responsibility for what's going on now. Because for too long, the black community has been voting for the wrong people for too damn long.
Oh, that's right. Yes. That's right. Get Michelle ass out.
Because we're too busy voting for name recognition and because they're black.
That's right. Get Al stinky ass out. Now. Yeah.
So now what we need to do collectively, when the next time the automatic races come up, we need to vote their asses out. When violence time comes up, we need to vote
his ass out. Yes. 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 Biden is no damn good.
Hey soldiers, if you are an American citizen, you are subordinate. You are second class. You're actually placed behind people who may not have even set foot in this country ever. Okay, there are groups that greedy politicians have promoted over and above the tax-paying citizen. That's right. There is real deal taxation without representation going on in America today. And you're the victim of it. I'm going to show you that. We're going to lay it out succinctly. And you need to understand why you need to legally minimize your tax debt. Now, guess what? A lot of Americans don't know this. They put out in the news that, oh, the IRS is hiring 80,000, employees. Yeah, that is troubling. But what you don't hear in the news is about all the provisions of the tax code that allow you to legally minimize your tax debt. And you're going to have to think seriously about doing that because, look, you're not being represented well, okay, or at all in some cases. We're going to take a close look at just that in a moment. Now, I want you to subscribe. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button and become a soldier of finance. When you do so, let me know in the comments and I will salute you. Also, I want you to know that when you hit that like button and you're with the thumbs up, you're going to want to do that today because you are going to want other people to see this. We have to take matters into our own hands as citizens if we want to see change. So the first thing we have to do is keep more money in our pockets, all right? Especially money that is being wasted by greedy governments, state, local, and of course the federal government, in doing things for groups that are not American citizens. We've got homeless children and veterans on the street, but guess what? They are overlooked to send bombs to Ukraine. That's right. They are overlooked to benefit hordes of people coming into this country who, sure, are seeking a better life. But let me tell you something about immigration, okay? Now, I've traveled, and to every country I've traveled in, guess what? They have demanded to see my passport upon entry, all right? And I've been to Mexico, okay? Mexico City, did some work down there. And let me assure you that if you enter Mexico, why don't we adopt Mexico's immigration policy? If you enter Mexico and you don't have a passport, you're going to spend some time in a Mexican prison, okay, which is not very nice. So when you look at all of the benefits that are being given to people who come here, and look, let me be straight up honest with you. America has an immigration system. Plenty of people immigrate legally to this country every single year, all right? So we do have a functioning legal immigration system. You cannot, as an American, and I don't suggest you try this, you cannot just prance up into some other country. Most Def tried that with South Africa, okay? And look into that. It's all over the internet. He said he was a citizen of the world and didn't need a passport. For those of you who may not be familiar, Mos Def is a phenomenal actor. And he started out as a rap artist, okay? But he's a great actor. You've seen him in, he's been in a couple of things, okay? Not so much lately. But in any event, the whole I'm a world citizen, I'm a global citizen thing didn't work. Global citizen, where's your passport? Okay, so let's get into some of the empirical proofs to show you exactly what's going on out here with regard to you being taxed. And they'll kick in your door if you owe, taxes. You being taxed, but not being represented. And what I mean by that is look at this first video of the new mayor of Chicago. I forget the guy's name. Look, he's forgettable. I don't know his name. I'm going to be quite honest with you. I'll put it on the screen maybe, but he's the mayor of Chicago, right? New boss, same as the old boss. And look what he has to say about watering down the vote of Chicago parents, because the influence that they have on deciding who's going to be on the school board, if he gets his way, is now going to be something that people who aren't even citizens of this country get to partake in.
Our democracy, for better or worse, was designed to provide like enfranchisement to individuals, of course, who have, the legal presentation of being here. I think that should be maintained. Now as far as, undocumented families having some say-so in the direction of our public schools, I think that's worth figuring out. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you're dropping your kids off. I don't believe that families, should be shut out of the ability to have influence. And it's why we fought for democracy.
Brandon Johnson, that's his name. So, our democracy was founded, like for better or worse to provide representation. Everything he said was a damn lie, okay? If this guy ever stumbled upon a history book in terms of why the nation was founded, it wasn't for that, okay? So this is just a politician making crap up as he goes along and suggesting that you've gone out here and you've worked for decades, you paid your taxes for decades, and you're really, no different and undeserving of any special rights and privileges of a tax-paying citizen, because he's going to grant those, at least with regard to the school board. That's the tip of the iceberg, probably. I'm sure he's got ideas about folk that are not citizens voting in Chicago elections. And he just, laid that out for you. So step one in what we're going to see is a pattern of politicians doing things that advocate for less representation for you, all the while, let me put this up, national debt. And this is just national debt. Let's not talk about, your state taxes. If you live in California, my God, okay, with all the things that they're talking about spending money on, reparations and all kinds of other things, your taxes out there are going to be going through the roof. And then you add the federal on top of that, and you'll be lucky to be able to afford a cheeseburger at the end of the pay cycle, okay? So this is what we're looking at, almost $250 million per taxpayer, mind you, that you would owe, okay, if every taxpayer just came out and paid their share of this growing, accelerating national debt, right? So now let's stick with Chicago for a minute. Let's stick with them. Now, the residents up there are really upset. And the reason they're upset is because, again, they have asked the city for different things. They, especially the black residents, which this serves you right, okay? You kept giving your vote to the same electoral monopoly, the Democrats, and now you are being blatantly taken for granted, and it serves you right. Change your behavior, start diversifying your vote, or you can look for more taxation without representation. Now, a couple of people in what we're going to see, they make some very good points about how services are being granted to immigrants, are not being granted to people that are here suffering. That, if the government wants to help, doesn't charity begin at home?
Finding shelter for the surge of migrants is a huge challenge that is about to get worse next week. While time is running out for the Lightfoot administration, the new surge will arrive just in time for Mayor-elect Brandon Johnson's inauguration. We caught up with him in West Rogers Park at 2 events on his public schedule. Johnson refused to answer questions about the migrants.
Okay, let me stop it for 1 second. That's another little developing trait. That's big here in Baltimore, where the local officials don't want to talk to the press. Okay, we've got a woman here who she works for Fox 45 Baltimore. First name's Mackenzie. I don't watch local news. I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, but you can look her up if you are so inclined. This woman's a pit bull, and the local government hates her because she's out there doing her job. All right. She is being that conduit between the between the elected officials and the electorate. All right. Now, believe it or not, she receives a lot of heat from the citizens. Oh, she's being unfair to our mayor, to the mayor of Baltimore. He's not my mayor. I don't live in the city borders. But they treat this guy like with kid gloves, the rest of the media. But this particular station doesn't. So we're seeing a characteristic here where this guy in Chicago they must get some type of briefing, because this is the liberal way, the leftist way of dealing with the media now. Just ignore them, even though the media is supposed to be in place to keep government accountable to you. All right. So he's not ignoring her per se. He's ignoring you and blatantly doing so. Let's continue.
And Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle says it costs Cook County Health $1.8 million a month to care for migrants' medical needs. But she says addressing their needs shouldn't just fall on Chicago and Cook County.
All right, stop it again. Look, it costs $1.8 million a month for Cook County. No, for the residents and taxpayers of Cook County to pay for the medical needs of migrants. Always, whenever you hear government paying for something, why don't you just insert you as a substitute for government? You're paying for it, okay? Government makes no money. They produce no widget, okay? They go out and wage war and import a poisonous culture, but that's not really compensable, okay? They're not getting any revenue from that. You're paying for this, all right?
Preckwinkle says the migrant surge is challenging on all levels of government, but it will no doubt be one of Brandon Johnson's biggest challenges from day one. And so far, we've heard very little about his plan.
All right, and he has no plan, okay? Because what's happening is these liberals, these leftists, they crowed about immigration being, so compassionate and it's what needed to be done, as long as Florida, Arizona, and Texas were bearing the brunt of it. Okay, it's easy to talk about being benevolent when you're not opening your doors. But now they're seeing that there is a consequence to this. Okay, and they're not dealing with it very, very well at all, because they're sacrificing their own citizens' welfare to the welfare of, in Maryland, they call them new Americans. And look, I'm not xenophobic, not at all. But again, I know damn well I can't just walk into anybody else's country, let alone walk in and then expect services, okay, to be put up in a hotel. A lot of these people in New York and Chicago are being put up in hotels. You think if I'm immigrate to Mexico illegally, now let's say I do it legally, do you think they're going to give me this stuff? In fact, I don't know if this is still the case, but years ago, Mexico prohibited immigrants from ever being eligible for their welfare programs, which makes sense. If you're going to come here, you got to be able to support yourself, right? And look, yes, some of these South American countries got a lot of immigrants coming over from China. I get it, all right? Accident of birth. I'm here. I get it, all right? You want a better life. But we already have channels to help you accomplish that. So check out this town hall meeting where these black residents really, really give it to these leaders up here in Chicago with regard to these immigrants and the things that are being done for them, while overlooking the black residents who pay taxes, okay, who vote in these elections and put these Democrats in power. Check it out.
For city leaders who came looking for a conversation over opening the doors of a shuttered South Shore high school to migrants.
What's important is that we really establish that this is a humanitarian crisis, and we're here.
South Shore residents responded with resounding rejection.
While this crisis may constitute an emergency for the city of Chicago, it does not constitute an emergency for the South Shore community.
Incoming migrants have overwhelmed district police stations by the hundreds.
It's my turn. It's my turn. Hello.
But city leaders could barely eke out a word of the details about a proposed respite center at the former South Shore High School.
When it comes to the total number of people at South Shore at any given point in time, it is fluid. We'd start with 250, 500.
How could you do that without consulting us?
I am concerned with safety in the area.
The Chicago Police Department will put 24/7 officers at that location.
Those are exactly the kind of services Southside residents say they've begged for and been denied.
Every homeless immigrant that you bring in, that you scoop up one of the homeless individuals in our community, I think that would be fair.
Hey, you get what you vote for, right? All right, let's leave Chicago for now and go to Baltimore City. We're going to wrap this up in New York, and you're really going to see some insanity. Okay, Baltimore City, we have a parent here who is not getting what she expects, at least, from the Baltimore City public school system. All right, she's very concerned about her child, and she's representative of many, many parents throughout the system. She's not getting what she's paying for, all right? Meanwhile, the Baltimore City School Board is pretty much unaccountable, all right? They have taken a grim line to talking and being, accountable to the press with hard questions. And on top of that, city test scores are abysmal.
I went to Patterson High School.
It's been more than 30 years
The old Patterson High School.
since she was a student.
Used to be right there, where the construction's going on.
Now she's a mother who fears history
We're trying to transfer our daughter.
is about to repeat itself.
We're trying to transfer her out of Patterson.
Vonda Linda Biggis was born and raised in Baltimore by a single mother who had her at 15, the same age her daughter is now. Vonda Linda went to Patterson High School in the 80s, the same school her daughter now attends as a 9th grader.
Do you feel like you got the education you needed?
No, I don't. All I just want is just my kid to be educated. This is really difficult for me.
Patterson High School is one of the largest high schools in Baltimore, but a recent Fox 45 News investigation found most of the students, according to one assessment, are far behind in math and reading.
These numbers aren't lying.
Project Baltimore obtained iReady scores from this source, a school teacher at Patterson, who we are not identifying because they fear retaliation.
And leading the way is iReady.
iReady is used to determine at which grade level a student is performing. And at Patterson High School, the numbers are devastating. In reading, 628 Patterson High School students took the test. Just 12 students tested were reading at grade level. 12. And when it comes to math, the numbers are just as alarming. 575 high schoolers were tested, but just 17 of those students tested at algebra and geometry level math.
All right, so let's end this out in New York City, where we've got the protests that are taking place in the wake of the Jordan Neely incident. Okay, now you can go and you can look at that person allegedly being disruptive on a subway train, which God help you if you have to take the mass transit system up there in New York City. All right, because it's getting barbaric. People are being pushed onto tracks. That's a routine thing now. We actually may see that starting down here in the Baltimore area because we had a gentleman pushed onto the track, and he was pushed so hard that he hit the third rail, was electrocuted, and died. All right, so you've got all kinds of violent crime going on the platform inside the train, and it's quite dystopian. So you've got Neely there, apparently, allegedly, starting some sort of disturbance, and then people on the train intervene. Now, I'll say this. If you're in a subway car, you're pretty much a captive audience, right? So there's no chance for you to leave the subway car if it's in motion, all right? So whatever the hell's going on in there, when it comes to fight or flight, you really only have one option, okay? They say fight, flight, or faint. You better not faint on a New York City subway car. So fight or flight, right? You're not going to flee because the train is in motion. So there's no way out. So some people intervened and things got, complex. Neely ended up dying. So now there is a big protest in New York City. It's riot season. So here we go. So I want you to pay close attention to this next snippet. We're going to really examine it after it's done. Go.
You can get out of the train or something. Get out of her face. Get out of her face.
So get out of the train. Take it out of the train.
Bro, you heard her right now.
You will not be late for your work even though it's true. Do not use the excuse and do not use the touch her. Get off the train. Do not touch her. Get off the train. You now get off the train. That's it. You gotta go.
Bro, they lynching us out here. They lynching us out here, bro. They lynching us out here, bro. They are lynching us out here, bro. They are lynching us out here. They lynching us out here, bro. Jordan Neely was from my hood, bro. I know the nigga personally. He's from my hood. You don't have to explain to my fuck it. Don't explain to
Okay, so what do we have here? First of all, that's that's what you might run into when you're simply trying to go to work. All right. So what did we examine here? Let's hit it hard straight out of the gate. You had a bunch of loudmouth, over-emotional women and feminized men attacking the poor and middle class. That's who rides the subway, right? Okay. Working class people. So you had these people. They are not responsible for what happened to this individual. These are people trying to get to work, trying to get to school, or back home from work or school, trying to go see a loved one in the hospital, or maybe get to a job interview. Who the hell knows, right? But here come a bunch of leftist fools, all right? You want to fight City Hall? Fight City Hall. Don't fight innocent people who don't have anything to do with it, that are presumably from the same socioeconomic class that you are. Because all you're going to do is alienate them to your cause, right? But that's using reason, and reason was developed by the Greeks, and so it's racist. Okay. All right, here's some other things we observed in that. Well-fed white guy in the Che Guevara t-shirt holding up an iPhone. Okay. Now, if he's a fan of Che Guevara, I can't imagine that he would be down with capitalism, right? But yet and still he paid for the iPhone, is paying for it, a monthly bill, to a greedy capitalist company, Apple. And I bet you he didn't screen print that Che Guevara t-shirt on his own. Something tells me he purchased it and paid someone a profit, okay, on the shirt. All right, what else do we have here? Demoralized and totally neutered police. Okay, you see the look on that one cop's face with the cocked hat? He's like, I just want to go home. I need to rethink my whole life. This is BS. All right, so the cops can't even control this situation to the point where they say, you're not going to disrupt transportation. The mayor, okay, up there in New York. I forget his name. These people are unremarkable, so it's easy to forget their name. They're unremarkable people, but at the same time, they're destroying major cities. The mayor should come out and say transportation, commerce, communications, these things will not be disrupted under any circumstances. And your right to protest will not be confused with disrupting civil society. And if you do, we will just start taking you to jail wholesale, okay? Don't give a damn about, what flag you're waving or, what color your skin is or who you claim to be gender-wise on that day. You're not going to disrupt society and interfere. You can protest all you want, all right? But you need to do it. You will do it in a civil fashion. So we got that. The other part we have is the protesters shouting, Black Lives Matter, all the while keeping a black man from getting off the train to go to his job. So I guess black economies don't matter. Black incomes don't matter. But Black Lives Matter, right? Okay, whatever. So there you have it. That's what you have. Now, how can we as citizens, how can we move beyond this? Okay. Well, listen, first of all, the system is corrupt. Every institution is corrupt to the core, and it ain't coming back. So from a financial standpoint, we need to figure out how to minimize our tax debt. There are provisions within the tax code that say, hey, you can pay your taxes now or you could pay them later. Okay. I want to pay them now because taxes on income are going to be lower now than they will be in the near future because of the ballooning debt. All right. So I got to pay taxes. I'm not about to, fight the IRS. I'm not about to, have my income garnished or end up in prison for the rest of my life because I'm dealing with tax issues. No. If anybody tells you you don't have to pay income taxes, run away. But the IRS does say you can go ahead and pay the taxes now, and then you can have that money grow tax-free. You can access it tax-free. And you can bequeath it to your heirs tax-free as well as generational wealth. Now, several vehicles allow you to do that. One's the Roth IRA. Look into it, okay? Otherwise, you will continue to pay for a failing system. The other, permanent life insurance policies. Now, a lot of people out there don't understand these. And a lot of people will say, well, there's a cost to insurance. You're damn right there is. Because anywhere you put your money, there is going to be some cost associated with it, all right? This is America. Nothing's free. And what you're doing by getting an insurance policy is you are getting tax-free growth. You're getting tax-free income / access to your money as long as you access it correctly through a loan from yourself as opposed to a withdrawal. And again, you're getting that ability to pass it on to heirs in a tax-free manner. All right. The IRA has conditions on it. So you need to look deeply into this. We've done plenty of videos on it. I might tag a couple, but they're in the stack. All right. You need to look at instruments that you can hold, because as long as you hold it, you get a different tax treatment. So unless you sell something, in most instances, that asset will not be taxed. Okay. In most instances, you need to talk to your CPA and get your team together. But guys, think seriously about this, because what we just saw is going to get a whole hell of a lot worse before things even begin to turn around. So do with that what you will. I just think it's a shame that this is happening. I am happy to see, though, I'm very happy to see that people who have wasted their vote and given it, okay, without any thought, all you got to do to get somebody who's black and leftist to vote Democrat is say the other guy's racist. And I hope now that people are seeing that that really is, a fool's errand. It doesn't amount to anything because it gets these politicians to take your vote for granted. Here in Maryland, okay, if you're a Democrat, you don't even really have to campaign during the general election because the Republicans in most areas of the state are absolutely no competition at all. All right, so look, here's another issue, the debt ceiling. You need to be able to profit from whatever happens with that. If we default, you need to profit. If it's just more hot air, and we're going to get this thing solved, you need to profit. I know this has been a long video. Go watch that and check that video out. Guys, I'll talk to you soon.